The level display. In this video, we are going to be going over some of the options in the level display dialog box. One of the ways you can get to the level display dialog box is come up to your drawing workflow, and on the drawing ribbon under the primary group, in this last row, this top icon, is the level display dialog box. I'm just going to left click on it, select it. It's going to open up my level displays. First, we'll go over some of the icons at the top here. This first icon is called Apply to Open Views. So if you have multiple views open in your drawing and you select that icon, it will apply your level display to all the open views you have opened. This next icon is called Apply to Selected Views. So what this one will do is if you have multiple views open in your drawing, whichever view you have selected, it will turn on and off that level that you had selected only in that view. So that's what the Apply to Selected View button will do. And the next option is your view display. You have three different options under here. You have view display, global display, and global freeze. The view display will make the changes in the active model or the level set in the open file. The global display will make the changes in all views and in all models of the open file. And the global freeze indicates whether the level is frozen. If frozen, elements on the level are not displayed and cannot be printed. But most of the time we'll just leave this set to view display and we'll only make changes to the levels within the drawing. In this next row, this first one is called Change Level. We'll come back to this one in a minute. We're going to skip over this one right now. This next one is called Show Target Tree, and what this one will do in this area down here, if it is checked on, if I had reference files attached to it, you could see them down in here on the level display, and you'd also be able to turn on and off those levels in the reference files. If I uncheck it, you notice that target tree box is gone, and now the only available levels to turn on and off will be in this drawing. So normally we leave this one checked on. This next one is called List Filter. Right now it's set to none, so there are no filters. If I wanted to see all the levels at MoDOT, I could select all levels. Or if I only wanted to see the levels in this drawing, I could select this Used filter, and now it's only going to show the levels that are in this DGN file. So that's what the filters will do. This next one has two options, levels and filters. We're going to leave it set to levels, so we'll just skip over that one. And this last one's called Dialog Settings. If I select that one, it'll just open up some options you have for this level display dialog box. You shouldn't have to mess with these settings. These should be pretty much standard. If you wanted to come in here and mess with them on your own time, you could. But we're just going to leave them set to the defaults that we use here at MoDOT. So to show you how the levels work, since I have my filter set to used, all the levels that are in the design file that are being used are shown down here on the bottom. And if I know what level I want to turn off, maybe I want to turn off the trees level, and I know that all the trees are on the level Environmental New Trees, I could just simply come over here, left click on that level, and it's going to turn it off. And if you can't see the whole level name, you can come up to this bar up here and just double left click on it, and then it's going to expand this list to the widest level name. So to turn off the level, all you just have to do is simply come out and left click on that level, and it's going to turn off that level. If you don't know the name of the level you want to turn off, if I come up and select my element selection tool, if I come over and hover over the level I want to turn off, on the heads up display it should tell me the level name, which this one is roadway landlines. So now if I want to turn that one off, I can just come over, find roadway landlines, and left click on it to turn it off. To turn back on a level, all you have to do is simply left click on it again, and it'll turn that level on. Now if I come out on one of these levels and double left click on it, you'll notice it turns green. And what this green color means is now that this is the active level in the design file. So you'll notice up here under the attributes, my level is environmental new trees. And if this is the active level, if you left click on it, you cannot turn that level off. So you cannot turn off the active level in your design file. If for some reason I needed to turn off this environmental new trees level, I'd have to double click on another level to make that the active level, and then I could turn off this environmental new trees. So that's all that green color means. If you see that out in your levels, is it's the active level on the design file. I'm going to go ahead and turn back on environmental new trees. Another way you could turn off levels in the design file is if I come back up here to this button called change level and select it, you'll notice this tool has a couple different options under it. It has display off, display only, lock and unlock, which we're probably not going to talk about, set target, and set active, which will set the level as the active level. But for now we're just going to talk about display off and maybe display only. I'm going to leave it set to display off for right now. So now if I wanted to turn a level off in my design file, all I would have to do is select something on that level that I want to turn off. So maybe I want to turn off my trees. Just go out and left click on it and select it. You notice it turns off my trees. Maybe I want to turn off this text. Just left click it and it'll turn it off. Now if I switch it from display off to display only, and I go out and left click on one of the items, maybe I'll click on this roadway landlines, it's going to turn off everything but the roadway landlines. But you'll notice since my roadway sidewalks was the active level, it still cannot turn off that level. So that's just another way to turn on and off levels, is with this change level button right here. There is another way you can turn on and off levels. If I come to this area where my levels are listed, and I can right click over any of these levels, and it'll pop up a menu, and you have some options under here. This first one is called set active. Of course, wherever you right clicked, I right clicked on roadway centerline. If I selected this set active, it would make that level the active level. This jump to active level, what it will do is if you have a lot of levels listed here and you pick jump to active level, it's going to go to wherever your active level is set in this list. We're going to skip over this, create a display set for right now. Of course, you have all on and all off. So if I wanted to turn all my levels on, I just left click and select it. Of course, it turned back on all my levels. If I right click over this again and go to all off, it's going to turn off all my levels except for my active level. And then you have invert. Basically what that one does, if the level's off, it'll be turned on, and if the level's on, it'll be turned off. And then the last two we're going to talk about is off by element and all except element, which works the same as this change level button. So if I come back down here and right click and I pick this off by element, now whichever element I go out and select, whatever level that is on, it's going to turn off that level. If I right click over one of the levels again, and I go to all except element, and I go out to my screen and select an element, it's going to turn off everything except that element and whatever the active level is. I'm going to go ahead and right click and turn all my levels on. If I right click one more time, there's this one called Level Manager, and we're going to talk about that one in another video. So we'll just skip over that for right now.